This is a special Vote 2025 edition of Up Close, the race for New York City Mayor. A conversation with Andrew Cuomo.
He was once the most powerful man in the state of New York.
It's time to be bold, my friends, because there is no small solution to big problems.
From one of the state's most powerful political families.
My dad was my hero. He was my best friend. He was my confidant, and my mentor.
3 times, Andrew Cuomo was elected governor, just like his father, Mario. But the son served just 10 years before resigning amid sexual harassment allegations he denies. Now he is looking to complete his political comeback and become the 111th mayor of the city where he was born and raised.
I love this city, and this city is at a precarious point. I believe we're at a tipping point. It's going to go one way or the other.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Up Close. I'm Bill Ritter. We have been interviewing the candidates for mayor of New York. Election day, now just a little more than 2 weeks from right now. The candidate joining us this morning, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, now running for mayor as an independent. Great to see you.
Good to be with you, Bill.
Thank you for being here on Up Close.
My pleasure.
And with all you're doing right now, let's get right down to it because there's a lot to talk about with a little more than 2 weeks to go. Fresh off last night's debate, it is a tough race. There's no question about that. You're an underdog. Where do you stand right now?
Well, I would say it depends on who's actually in the race at the end. Right now, there are 3 people. So the math is tricky. My main opponent is Zohran Mamdani. He is not at 50%. There's a Republican who picks up about 10-12%. So we're going to have to see how the math sorts out and what people actually do. Okay.
During the debate, Curtis Sliwa came after you fairly hard, I would say, throughout the 2 hours. The morning after the debate, you were interviewed on a radio show, and you said, if I get this completely right, President Trump could call the New York State Republican chair and get Sliwa, who's a Republican, to leave the race. Is Sliwa dropping out that critical for you to win?
Oh, on the math, if Sliwa was not in the race, it's either head-to-head or I win, depending on what poll you believe. But my point was, and what we were talking about on that radio show is, Curtis Sliwa cannot win the race. He was put on by the Republican Party bosses. I believe he's there as a spoiler because the Republican Party bosses want to see Zohran Mamdani win for their own political purposes. So a vote for Curtis Sliwa is, in my opinion, in essence, a vote for Zohran Mamdani, right?
And that's the way you're looking at it right now?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
If President Trump does manage, back to the original question, does manage to get Sliwa out of the race, which he says he doesn't want to do, Sliwa doesn't want to get out of it, would that make you perhaps beholden to the president? That was with the rap against Mayor Adams.
Yeah, well, look, first of all, President Trump and I have a long, tortured history. I was governor, he was president. We had battle royale every day, Bill. I would do a morning briefing.
We remember those
briefings. Evening briefing. And I was fighting for New York, and I'm a fighter, and he's a fighter. So we had a lot of battles. And he was sending National Guard all over the country at that time, threatened to send them to New York. I said, no how, no way. He didn't. So we won our share of battles. He had me investigated, right, déjà vu, by the Department of Justice, which the Department of Justice then admitted was a political investigation. But we've gone back and forth. If there are things to cooperate on with President Trump, I will cooperate. There's a lot of good things the federal government could do for New York. There's a lot of infrastructure we could do together with the federal government. I was the HUD secretary, Housing and Urban Development, under Bill Clinton. I know what the federal government can do when it wants to help a city. So there's a lot of positive. But if he is detrimental to New York, then no one will be first or more ferocious in fighting for New York. I can promise you that.
I want to dig in deeper to that in a little bit. I want to talk about some of your platforms first before we do that. And let's start with talking about how you would serve as mayor, because I think when I get that, and we'll talk a little bit more about Trump later. We're going to start with safety. You're calling for 5,000 more New York cops in the streets. Why that number, and how would you pay for that?
Yeah. Remember what happened here. We have a New York City government that was taken over by the far left, right? And we still have that tension, by the way. That's what this election is about. Sort of civil war in the Democratic Party between the far left, what they call themselves the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, and moderate Democrats. I'm a moderate Democrat. And that's the fight that we're having, this far left versus the moderates. But we had this far left mentality in New York City. And what did they say for years? Defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. The police were the problem. My opponent still says defund the police. We defunded the police. We took $1 billion out of the police budget. We have the smallest number of police officers in modern political history, Bill. And people wonder why they don't feel safe. I want to hire 5,000 police officers, which will take us back to full force, back to where it was under Mayor Dinkins, Mayor Giuliani, right at that point at about 40,000, and that's full force. We are now losing police officers at one of the highest attrition rates in history because the force is so low. Everybody has to work overtime. Everybody has to work weekends. It's destroying their quality of life, and they're leaving.
And gone to places elsewhere in New York, oftentimes.
Look, if you're a police officer, you can work in a suburban community, make more money.
Well trained by the New York Police Department.
Yes, and have a better life. So we have to, I would have incentives to try to get people to apply, because nobody applies anymore to be a police officer in New York City. Incentives to get them to apply, 5,000 police, 1,500 in the subways, where people really feel unsafe. And start with public safety, because that is the base. You can talk about affordability and education and everything else, but safety first.
Your opponent says he does not say, and has never, well, he has said in the past, apologized about it, and says he's not trashing the cops. That's not what he's doing. And you just said he was going to do it. So I wanted to, he makes a big deal of that now.
Yeah, let's, on the facts. He did say, and has said numerous times, there's a tweet today by Elon Musk, actually, who retweeted with 10 statements and tweets from Mondami saying, defund the police, disarm the police, disband the police. He also said the police were racist and wicked and corrupt and anti-queer and a threat to public safety. Those are all his words, documented, period. Now, he's in a general election. He wants to walk them back. Fine, but that's what he said.
Okay, well, he claims that it's in the past. He was a lot younger when he said that. That's what he says anyway. Well, how do you respond to that?
He is still a lot younger, right? He's 33 years old. He said this about 2 or 3 years ago. So, and these are harsh words, right? Remember, we had Bill de Blasio as mayor. One of the main problems he had is he lost the faith of the police. Remember, they turned their back on him
when someone died, yes.
At a funeral. Mm-hmm. The mayor can't lose the faith and respect of the police. And when you use those words, racist, wicked, corrupt, threat to public safety, it's very hard to take those words back. You know, there are some words that are so cut to the quick, and it's the philosophy of this democratic socialist of America. It's not just police. Abolish jails. No new jails. It is a part of their philosophy. And the reason I say it's different than the democratic philosophy, I'm a Democrat. My father was a Democrat. Law and order is part of being a Democrat.
Part of those things that are happening in this country, programs that are democratic socialism, Social Security, Medicare, your father loved all that, right? You did too. Public schools, libraries, Veterans Health Administrations, water utilities, the interstate system, police and fire departments, all that are part of that too.
They are all democratic programs.
Yes.
They're not socialist programs. We don't have a socialist economy. We're not Venezuela. We're not Cuba. We don't have a socialist economy. Those were democratic programs. Now, they call themselves democratic socialists, so I understand the confusion. But the socialist theory, where government controls the means of production, no private ownership of land. Government owns all the land. The American dream of own your own home. So it is a different philosophy, and this election is a microcosm of that, but it's going on all across the country.
There are a lot of politics like that these days, yes. In the political ads that you're running right now, you mentioned the cops, but you also talk about something that's interesting, getting the homeless off the streets. How would you do that?
Look, now, as you know, I started working with homeless. I was in my 20s. I started building homeless shelters. I ran the Homeless Commission for David Dinkins, and then went to Washington as HUD secretary. We did a homeless program for the entire nation. And I worked with cities all across the country on the homeless problem. Leaving homeless, mentally ill people on the street, Bill, I think is wrong on every level. I understand why it's politically contentious. But these are people who are mentally ill. They need help. Leaving them on the street is not respecting their civil rights and their civil liberties. God forbid a family member of mine was mentally ill on the streets. Please pick them up, get them the help they need. And we have dangerous mentally ill people on the street who are a danger to themselves, danger to others. We should bring them in and get them the mental health assistance. Now, is that politically contentious? Yes. And will people call your show and say, Governor Cuomo said we should take people against their will and bring them to a mental health facility? That is the law. And I don't think that's an overreach of government. I think it's basic humanity.
Let's go back to crime for a second, because we could talk about that for a long time, too. Police say one of their biggest challenges is repeat offenders. They arrest them only to see them released and arrested again. We all have heard this. It started off by allowing people who couldn't afford bail and without felonies to get out of jail because the wait was longer than the sentence in the trial. Was bail reform a mistake, given what's happened?
Bail reform, and many states did bail reform. Bail reform started about 6 years ago. And the concept is right. But the concept is, you're innocent until proven guilty. You are charged with a crime. They haven't proven anything yet. If you say, just when you're charged with a crime, I'm going to set bail $900. You can't pay the $900. You go to Rikers Island. This started with a case named Khalif Browder. Young black boy was charged with stealing a backpack from another boy. They set bail at $900. The family couldn't pay the $900. Bill, he went to Rikers Island for 2 years before he ever had a court determination. He was abused. He wound up killing himself. It can't be that because you're rich, you get to walk out and have your day in court. I'm poor. I can't pay the $900. So I go to Rikers for 2 years before you proved I did anything wrong. So bail reform was for a non-serious crime, not a felony, not a serious crime, not a violent crime, then you couldn't set bail that a person couldn't pay. Ankle bracelet, probation, etc.
Okay, now let's talk about affordability because that's a big subject right now.
Sir.
Young people are very much concerned about that. The issue of affordability always been, worrisome for New Yorkers. It was during your father's time in politics and before that as well. But it does appear it's more worrisome these days and more worrisome than ever, especially for younger people out there. I have young kids about the same age as yours, so I get all this. People who are the ages of our kids are worried about that. What's your plan now to fix affordability?
Yeah. Well, you're right. It has always been an issue. Affordability, they talk about it now like it's a new issue. I discovered an issue, affordability.
But a lot of young people are feeling it more now.
Young people, well, first of all, it's everyone.
Yeah.
Rent is too darn high all across the board. Middle-class families, working families, it's out of control. But you're right. Young people, especially, come to New York. They're looking to move to New York, and rents are $3,500, $4,000, etc. There's only one real answer. There are gimmicks you can try, and we've tried gimmicks. But as I said, I was HUD secretary. I did this all across the country. The answer is you need to increase the supply. The problem in New York is we have a 1% vacancy rate. 1% vacancy rate, which means, Bill, if you don't rent the apartment at the price the landlord is asking, the person in the elevator behind you is going to rent the apartment.
That's exactly right.
And you have to increase the supply. And the way you do that is you build more housing quickly. And the quickly is the trick, right? Because government is not good at doing, and it's certainly not good at doing.
So how to actually get down to the nitty-gritty and change this? How do we change all that drastically?
You have to have a government that works, that says this is our priority. We're going to look at sites all across this city, private sites, public sites, city-owned sites, partner with the faith-based community, and we're going to build, I want to start in the first 100 days, 80,000 units. We need 500,000 units, and we can do it, Bill.
You are trying to make a comeback. You were governor for 10 years. You were in office in public life before that. Why weren't you able to solve this problem, or at least deal with it more?
Well, first, I was HUD secretary, rebuilt housing all across the United States, Chicago Housing Authority, some of the worst housing authorities in this country, I rebuilt. As governor, we dedicated more money to housing and affordable housing than had ever been done in history. It's up to the local government to actually build the housing. The state makes an allocation, and then it's up to the city to decide if and when and how many units they do. Buffalo makes one decision, Rochester makes one decision, New York City makes another decision. But when I left being governor, the vacancy rate in New York City was 4.5%. It is now 1%. So this has been a recent, dramatic closure of the housing system.
Got a lot to talk about still. I'm going to get right to it. Let's talk about Mayor Adams. He dropped out of the race last month. You recently said you'd welcome an endorsement from the 110th mayor. Have you spoken to him? Because as of Friday, he hasn't endorsed you yet.
Yeah, no, I haven't spoken to him. I said that I would, look, I'm in a political campaign.
A little busy?
I welcome support.
Yeah.
I would welcome the mayor's support. We text back and forth, but he's been busy. I've been busy. But there's nothing peculiar about that.
He says he's not rushing into anything. That's what he said. I want to talk a little bit more about Mr. Trump. Let's talk about him for a second. He recently stopped federal funding of the Hudson River Gateway project and the extension of the 2nd Avenue subway project. You know a little bit about that project, cutting off a combined $23 billion of federal money. How would you deal with the president to get funding back if you were elected?
The way I did when I was governor. President Trump is a very strong personality. And there's only one way to deal with him, which is directly. You literally directly have to confront him on the measure. I think stopping these infrastructure projects are a terrible mistake. I'm not even sure he is fully aware of the consequences of stopping these projects. And I built the 2nd Avenue subway. So I would take it to him directly and say, why? What's the issue? What are you trying to accomplish? It's wrong. It's going to be bad for you. It's going to be bad for the state. But he's a very direct guy. I'm a direct guy. And I think that's how you have to deal with these things. My opponent says, well, we'll sue. You know, go look at Portland, look at Chicago. Suing doesn't work. President Trump gets sued 17 times a day before he brushes his teeth. You know, you're not going to slow him down by suing the federal government. You have to stop the action from happening.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute or two. When we come back, I'd like to have you stay for a few more minutes. We want to talk about Matilda Cuomo and how her view of the election is, and with more questions about you, the former governor, who wants to be mayor, all right? And we'll be right back. Lots of our viewers wanted to ask questions of Mr. Cuomo. Here is one of them right now.
What difference you gonna make that you ain't do when you was in office before?
Interesting question.
Yeah. Governor's a totally different job than mayor, right? I did do a lot in New York City as governor, actually, more than most governors. New LaGuardia Airport, 2nd Avenue Subway, Kosciuszko Bridge, New Long Island Railroad, Moynihan Train Hall. But the mayor is responsible. NYPD, hire 5,000 more cops. The public education system, mayoral control, get back to reading and math. Affordability, build 500,000 units. And get it done, Bill. Get it done. Competent government that actually makes a difference, and stop talking and start doing.
Couple quick questions for you, because I want to get all this in. You resigned as governor over some sexual harassment allegations. There were many women who are now still supporting you, but there are also women who are not. What do you tell voters still concerned about these allegations?
When the allegations were made, I said it was political. I said I did nothing wrong. Then went to 5 district attorneys. They all agreed nothing was wrong. We then went to court for 4 years. I was dropped from the cases. Yeah. So nothing came of it. It was political. It's what I said on day one. I paid a very high price to learn a lesson, to be hyper cautious. There are cultural sensitivities, but nothing came of it.
Governor Hochul has now endorsed candidate Mondani. If you should win and become mayor, could you fashion a new relationship with the governor who was once, after all, your lieutenant governor?
Oh, yeah. I chose Kathy Hochul as lieutenant governor. We had a fine relationship.
Okay. No problems?
No.
All right. We have some, I want to say something. Let me start with about your mom. I'd love to know what your mom says about your run for office.
My mom, well, as you know, I'm a mama's boy to begin with. And my mother is pure sugar. She understands it, I think. I think part of her would rather see me, because I've been in public service all my life, and part of her would like to see me just take it easy. But she understands where my heart is, where my father was. We love New York. This is what I know how to do, Bill. This is how I know how to help, right? And so she supports my decision.
A lot of people will be viewing this and they'll remember her. She was much loved, First Lady, and so give her all of our best wishes.
Thank you very much.
Politics aside, everything aside. Let's ask a couple questions, different ones too, because I think the viewers would like to, maybe you'll get a kick of this. What do you think is the biggest misconception of you?
Biggest misconception is he's tough. He's tough. Too tough.
Too tough. I think they don't think you're weak. That's what you've always given off to some degree, right?
Well, I think also I appear, I'm a big guy, I'm an Italian guy, I look tough. And look, I can be tough. I fight for the people of New York. I can be tough. But that's not my general disposition.
What's the fairest criticism of you?
Can push too hard at times, tries to get too much done. impatient with the bureaucracy, impatient with the political process, and pushes the political process too hard at times.
Okay.
Which is true, because it's a balance I work on. If you don't push, nothing happens in government, but you can push too hard.
We have 30 seconds left, and we really want to ask you this question, so we're going to. Besides your father, what's the politician you'd love to have dinner with and why, whether they are living or not?
Well, I'd love to have dinner with FDR, not living. And I love having dinner with Bill Clinton. I served as his HUD secretary. He's just a delightful, charming person whom I'm quite fond of.
Have you talked to him about this race?
Yes.
And what's his advice?
Yes. Well, I was his HUD secretary.
Yeah.
He understands cities, what this city needs. We've talked about the issues and the solutions. And, you know, it keeps coming back to, Bill, for the Democratic Party. This Democratic Party has to get back to being competent and actually performing and doing things. And we have to elect people who have the qualifications to do the job.
Mr. Cuomo, good luck to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks
Best
for
to your
having
family.
me.
All right. Thanks. And on that note, we'll be right back. And that's going to do it for this edition of Up Close. 2 weeks ago, we had Republican Curtis Sliwa here for a long interview. You can watch that at ABC7NY. And we have invited Zoran Mondani onto this show, and he says he's going to be here next week. A reminder, early voting begins this Saturday and ends November 2nd, 2 days before Election Day. And on that note, thank you all for watching. I'm Bill Ritter, and for all of us here at Channel 7 Eyewitness News, we wish you health and peace. And let's take care of each other.